Hey everybody, it's Dr. Nicole from Healing Hands Manahawkin, and I want to introduce you to a really special lady that I just actually got acquainted with not too long ago. And this is Pamira 𝗵𝗵𝗆, and she is a professional. She's worked in the pharmaceutical industry. She is a phenomenal mother, and she's had quite the journey in holistic healthcare and holistic wellness, and I just adore her and the way that she takes care of her family. So what I'd like to do, and especially for you moms out there, hopefully you guys are tuning into this, is I'd like Pamira to share her story a little bit, because I think it's just such a fascinating story. I think you've been through a lot that moms out there can identify with. So
Yes, so thank you so much for this beautiful introduction. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here to be talking with you. As Nicole said, I started out as a professional in the pharmaceutical industry, and that was my career. You know, it was my every day, every night. That was my passion, and I truly believe that I was helping humanity. I was putting in long days, long hours. I was skipping vacations, holidays, birthdays, and special days, and you know, all these private times with my family, because I truly, sincerely believe that I was helping do something to make people's lives better. And it was only after I became a mother that I never actually made the decision to quit the pharmaceutical industry. I led a lot of projects, from baby formula to maternal nutrition to global operations, new products launches around the world, and you know, dozens and dozens of countries. I managed teams of hundreds of people on a global scale, and I worked on vaccines, flu shot projects, cough and cold projects, over-the-counter products, you name it. I gained a lot of experience in a wide spectrum of pharmaceutical products. And during that whole time, I sincerely believed in what I was doing. And it was only after I became a mother that that journey of trying to be the best mother I could be for my child, trying to always follow my intuition to do the right things, one day at a time for my baby, kept on leading me into more holistic choices, into more organic choices, into more medicine-free and interference-free choices. And then all of a sudden one day I found myself in a situation where going back to the pharmaceutical industry was no longer an option for me, because I had come so far away from the day that I, you know, took my maternity leave. It was a couple of days before I actually had my baby. I was like still like, you know, climbing up the stairs, like, until I actually had my baby, going to the office, negotiating contracts, and you know, launching new products. I was at that point I was still like a full believer, and I thought that I was going to eventually go back. But day upon day, this baby turned me into a woman. And she put me in touch with my spiritual calling. She put me in touch with my deepest, innermost, sacred mother, who needed no excuses, no explanations, no guidance, nothing from a professional, nor an industry, nor a book. I just followed that light inside of me.
You followed your intuition. And
my intuition just took over. I actually very specifically remember this day of I was holding my baby on my chest. And actually at the hospital, I had an all-natural birth, no medicines, whatever, but then the nurses still took her away from me, gave her the scrub, wrapped her up, and said, keep her in this little bed up next to you, like, and that you get your rest. And I heard my baby was almost choking, either on her spit or something. She couldn't breathe, and she went like this. And I flew from that bed. I grabbed that baby. I knew that was the wrong position for her. I turned her over. I put her on my chest, her belly on my chest, pulled her legs up, patted on her back, gave her a breath. She took a deep breath, and from that day on, I did not let that baby go. That baby slept on my chest. until, she stopped sleeping on my chest. But one day she was in this position on my chest at home, and all of a sudden I felt this light come upon me. And I felt my heart rip open and this light pour into me. And it's such a profound moment in my memory that was like visually in my mind's eye. I was seeing this happening to me as I was living this moment. And that's when I knew that motherhood had happened to me.
Yes.
And that put me in touch. And once I started making all these holistic choices, it was just going back to the pharmaceutical industry was not an option for me anymore, because I could not anymore justify going back and selling to people products and things that I did not use for my own baby. It was not the right thing. I realized that all of them were profit-driven choices that the companies made for their top line and bottom line, and almost never driven by what the people needed.
Right.
So it felt a two-faced thing to do, to go back and to try to contribute to that anymore.
And I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because you're a very intelligent, successful woman, and now you have two, you had your foot in two different worlds. And so you could really see the difference between the shift in mindset from one world to another, and really what it is a paradigm shift.
Right.
And, still to this day, and I think things are changing, but to this day, the way that you have chosen to raise your family in a natural, holistic, wellness mindset is still very different for a lot of people today. I think people are becoming more open to it, but when you were doing it, did you feel like you had no support, or how was it for you? Because I did it, my son's 14. So this for me, I was doing this 14, 15 years ago.
You were doing it long before.
I was doing it a long time, and my friends were like, you're nuts. You're not going to vaccinate your kid. You got hit in the head, right? Did you still get that now or no?
So, yeah, it was I think the biggest part was grappling with my own indoctrinations. And once I was able to deal with myself as my biggest own critic, then I was able to deal with anybody else. When it came to gentle discipline and attached parenting and nursing my baby until into toddler years, at every step of the way, there's other people who choose not to do it that way, and then they want to make you feel awkward about it. And it's just that no one has explained to them, or they have not given themselves the permission to break their own indoctrination, to feel that this is normal. I remember, when I was in college, I was mocking village women breastfeeding like it's a little old times thing. Like smart, educated women don't do that. I did not grow up envisioning myself to be this woman who would just pull down her shirt and just breastfeed wherever, whenever, because that's the best thing for the baby, and it's really the most convenient thing for a mother to be able to just put that perfect nutrition at the perfect temperature, completely sanitary 100% of the time, always ready to go with the correct nutritional composition, always. This is a miracle. Why would we ever even belittle that? Why would we close ourselves to this option? Why are nurses telling you to take a nap and then sticking a baby formula bottle into your baby with gushing into the baby's mouth, and then the baby gets so used to this flow that he's now or she's now too lazy to suck on the nipple?
Yes.
These are all things we have to start asking ourselves.
And we still have pediatricians today that are, putting down breastfeeding and nursing your child and saying that it's not good or it's not healthy and that the baby's not getting nutrients. There's no better nutrient than our own body, right?
Right.
And also, I'd like you to touch on, because you had a fascinating experience. I've had a few fascinating experiences with pediatricians, and my boys are boys, so we ended up in the emergency room for stitches a few times, but so I've had some interesting experience with medical doctors and vaccinations. My boy's not being vaccinated. So can you touch, and we only have like a few minutes, but can you touch on, you know, your experience with the pediatrician, and you also had an experience with, you had your oldest daughter vaccinated, and she didn't do very well.
No.
So what happened there?
So when I researched about natural birth, and I knew I wanted to do a natural birth, no medication, I knew like I wanted to keep my body clean for my baby. And then I was like, okay, then, you know, I give my baby the best start, and then what's the next thing? So I knew I didn't want to give my baby any medications, so I researched, and then they told me that there's this doctor who allows you, as if you need anyone's permission,
right, to your child,
to
right?
like not vaccinate until 2 months and then do it slowly. So I spoke with this doctor, and then I was given the feeling that this is the most holistic thing you have, and that's like the end of that road. That's the end of the spectrum. That's where the, you know, bucket of gold lies at the end of the rainbow, that nowhere else you can go. So that's what we did. So we vaccinated this baby, and then she was getting ear infections. She was not doing very well. Thankfully, I was nursing the whole time, so chances are the nursing was helping take off some of the edge of the damage the vaccines could have done, all the toxins and everything. But she wasn't doing that well, and it was only when, and I didn't question it because we were spacing it up, I thought that was the best thing to do.
And you really weren't told any other option.
No, there was no other option.
So it was like, this is your only option.
Right.
You have no choice.
We were never given the information on what vaccines the baby was going to take that day. The nurse would line them up and bam, bam, boom, shoot them up, like in multiples of combinations some days. There was never a discussion on what the side effects could be, other than, you know, if the baby gets a fever, give Tylenol, and then there could be a little redness and, you know, fussiness. Like, really? Like, how about all the other things, that your child could actually die or go limp and like have seizures and like actually have encephalitis, scream for 8 hours? None of these were ever discussed. And, you know, we just kept going along with it because doctor knows best, right? Apparently doctor didn't know best, and my clicking point for that was when the doctor said that you have to do the 1-year routine blood work. And I'm someone who has a phobia of giving blood, and if I have to give it, I do, but there needs to be a reason for it. I find it very intrusive to draw my life force out of my body against my will, and it just like, it's horrible, like traumatic experience for me every time. And I couldn't imagine subjecting my baby to it if there is no reason. And I asked the pediatrician, why are we doing this? Do you think there's any reason? Like, are you seeing any symptoms? Is there any reason? And she said, no, it's routine. And that word routine just like turned on a light bulb in my mind. Routine, like, so it's not about my child. It's not about the health of my child. It's not about the reality of the situation of this particular human being. It's routine because the state of New Jersey wants it. How about what I want? How about what my baby needs?
Right.
And I never went back to that doctor. We never got that blood work, and we stopped all pharmaceutical products on that day. That was what clicked with me, because it connected me with my own trauma on something that I find unnecessary. So I know it can be different for many people, but I want to invite everyone to look for that click for you. Where is your clicking point? It doesn't have to be the same for everyone. A lot of very smart, very intelligent, thinking, questioning people are blindly following the rules and regulations because somebody told them so, because they trusted a doctor that they think the doctor knows best. And in reality, these doctors do not know anything about vaccination. They spend maybe half a day on vaccines, and all they learn is what limbs to give it on, and that they're good for you. If you don't get it, you're gonna die. It's absolutely inaccurate.
Right.
And they don't even know how to diagnose a vaccine injury. They could not tell a baby having encephalitis. I have friends calling me left and right, Pamira, my baby just got the Tdap. She's screaming and screaming. I know that. Encephalitis, immediately go to the ER. I know exactly what's happening. Your baby's swelling up. Your baby, beautiful baby, all of a sudden gets cross-eyed, or the mouth goes crooked. These are all vaccine injuries. The doctors do not know how to diagnose them. If they know it, they suppress it. It puts all the accountability and the responsibility and the onus on us as parents to keep our eyes open and educate ourselves to get outside of that paradigm.
Right. So Pamira, thank you so much for sharing that story, because you know, I think that a lot of moms out there are, and I think sometimes a lot of moms feel confused. And really, hopefully guys, hopefully this video is a blessing for you and has also empowered you to ask some questions. I would say that the most important 3-letter word that you can ask is why.
Yeah.
You know, why are you doing this? So as always, guys, if you ever have any questions for us, you know where to find us at Healing Hands. We're here to help you guys, we're here to guide you, and we're certainly here to answer any questions that you have. Take care.